The desert air burns like fire as bullets cut through it. The ground shaking with explosions while U.S. Army Rangers are pinned in the open, trapped behind burning trucks, sandbags, and broken metal as enemy militants surround them from rooftops, dunes, and hidden bunkers. And every second someone screams, someone bleeds, someone gets hit, and fear spreads like wildfire because the Rangers are running out of ammo, running out of cover, and running out of time. Sergeant Miller curses under his breath, blood dripping from his forehead as he fires round after round at shadows moving too fast to track. And every time he reloads, another RPG slam rocks the ground and throws dirt into the sky. One ranger shouts they're flanking, another screams for a medic, and then the radio crackles with desperation as someone breathes the words nobody wants to admit. We need a miracle. And those words hang in the smoke-filled air like a death sentence because right now, surrounded, outnumbered, and hit from all directions, it feels like there's no miracle coming, no backup, no cavalry, just the end. Until suddenly a single calm, steady female voice cuts through the radio chaos with zero fear, zero panic, just cold steel confidence. Copy. Hold your position. I'm inbound. Nobody reacts at first because maybe that voice is a glitch, maybe a hallucination, maybe just another call sign lost in static, but then they hear it. An engine roaring in the distance. Not a truck, not a tank, but something fast, lightweight, slicing through sand like a predator, and through the smoke they finally see it. A matte black military bike tearing across the battlefield with dust exploding behind it as enemy fighters turn and fire, bullets sparking off metal and armor. But the rider never slows, never swerves, never hesitates. She drives straight into hell like she owns the ground, like death itself needs her permission to operate here. And when she finally reaches the front line, she doesn't brake gently. She slams the bike sideways, sliding to a stop inches from incoming bullets, stands up with mechanical precision, and pulls a long sniper rifle from her back with the kind of smoothness that only comes from thousands of hours of training and hundreds of confirmed kills. The Rangers stare as she removes her helmet, revealing sharp eyes, cold expression, and the presence of someone who does not run from war. Someone who is war. She doesn't speak, doesn't look at them, doesn't even acknowledge panic around her. She just drops to one knee, plants the sniper in the dirt, adjusts her scope, and breathes out once. And then, crack. One bullet leaves the barrel, slicing the air faster than sound, drilling straight into the skull of the rooftop machine gunner who has been tearing Rangers apart for the last 10 minutes. And he collapses like his strings were cut, weapon falling silent. Before the Rangers even process that kill, she fires again, crack, and another fighter drops, and then another, and another, every shot a perfect headshot. No wasted movement, no hesitation, just rapid precision kill after kill until the rooftop that was full of enemy silhouettes is now nothing but lifeless bodies bleeding into the sand, and panic hits the enemy lines because whoever she is not normal, not standard military, not human in the way the rest of them are. She shifts position, never wasting time, firing as she walks, every bullet stacking bodies in the dirt, and the Rangers begin to rise because hope is something they haven't felt until now. One mutters, "Holy shit." Another whispers, "Is that her?" And someone else finally says the words everyone is thinking. That's Valkyrie. Her reputation has traveled further than she has. Black Ops, off-record missions, operations nobody admits exist, a ghost sniper trained to walk into impossible battles and erase threats with the efficiency of an executioner. And now she is here, and the battlefield changes instantly. Enemy fighters try to reposition, try to flank her, try to overwhelm her, but she doesn't give them the chance. Crack, crack, crack. 3 kills in less than 2 seconds, each shot through moving targets from different angles, wind shifting, sand blowing, chaos everywhere. Yet her aim remains perfect, unnatural, terrifying. She advances forward, switching from long-range to mid-range engagement seamlessly, firing while moving, sliding behind wreckage, using angles the Rangers didn't even know existed, calling out enemy positions with deadly certainty before eliminating them herself. And Miller watches frozen because he's seen elite soldiers, seen trained units, seen heroes, but he's never seen Someone dominate a battlefield like she does, like she was built for this, forged for this, like war is her natural environment, and everything else in the world is just noise. She keeps pushing forward, the battlefield bending around her presence, as if the enemy suddenly realizes they are not hunting. They are being hunted, and rage turns into fear as more militants try to rush her position, screaming battle cries, firing wildly, but she doesn't flinch, doesn't retreat. She simply holsters her sniper, draws a suppressed sidearm in one smooth motion, and begins dropping targets with surgical accuracy. Every shot center mass or straight through the brainstem. Not a single bullet wasted. And the Rangers watch in disbelief because gunfights aren't supposed to look like this. They're supposed to be messy, chaotic, desperate. But she makes it look controlled, calculated, almost silent, even with explosions echoing around them. And then an RPG arcs through the air toward her. Miller shouts to warn her, but she has already seen it, already anticipated the shot before it fired. And she dives sideways, rolls across the sand, and fires a single sniper round mid. Motion that doesn't hit the man holding the launcher. It hits the rocket itself, detonating it mid-air in a violent shockwave that sends dust, shrapnel, and panic exploding outward. And now the enemy fighters start falling back, shouting commands in panic, trying to regroup and overwhelm her with numbers, but she doesn't allow it. She switches weapons again, this time pulling out an automatic compact rifle and sprinting forward, closing the distance at a pace the Rangers can't believe. Bullets flying past her, smoke thickening around her silhouette. Yet she moves like a shadow that refuses to be touched by anything mortal. One militant tries to surprise her from behind a collapsed wall, swinging a machete as he charges, but she sidesteps, grabs his wrist, breaks it with a brutal twist, and then stabs him with his own blade before flipping him in front of her to use his collapsing body as a shield against incoming fire. Then she shoots through the shield with precise bursts, hitting the two shooters behind him in under a second. Rangers finally join the assault now that the pressure has shifted, firing and advancing, shouting and pushing momentum forward, and the battlefield begins to transform from a massacre of Rangers into a massacre of those who try to kill them. But the enemy isn't done. They bring out heavier firepower, mounting a turret atop a technical truck and spraying the battlefield with armor-piercing rounds that chew through metal and sand like it's paper. And one Ranger gets pinned again, screaming for help, but before Miller can order anyone to move, she is already gone, disappearing into dust clouds, sprinting low and fast, zigzagging through cover with an animalistic awareness of every bullet path. And then she vaults onto a burning vehicle, runs across it, jumps to a broken ledge, and launches herself into the air, as if gravity isn't binding her like everyone else, landing atop the technical truck with a brutal impact, knife drawn again. But she doesn't stab the gunner. She grabs his helmet straps, slams his head into the metal turret ring hard enough to crack skull and steel in one collision, then throws his lifeless body off the truck before turning the mounted turret around on the enemy line and unleashing it in a thunderous, sweeping roar that tears through sandbags, cover, and bodies like they're nothing. And while she is raining death from above, the Rangers finally start winning ground, clearing buildings, securing the perimeter, and regaining control. Miller calls her position on radio. Valkyrie, enemy, retreating north. We need overwatch. But she doesn't answer verbally. Instead, there's silence, followed by the sound of her leaping off the truck, landing with controlled force, reloading her sniper, and sprinting toward higher elevation. She scales a destroyed tower using broken steel beams as handholds, reaching the top faster than seems humanly possible, planting her sniper again, breathing out slowly while chaos continues below, and then she fires. Crack! First retreating fighter drops, then another, her shots chasing them down like execution orders written in dust and steel. The remaining militants finally break. They drop rifles, abandon positions, and run for the ridgelines, screaming to retreat, but she does not allow survivors who will return. Crack, crack, crack. She fires until the last echo fades, until the battlefield stops moving, until only silence and smoke remain. The Rangers stand there exhausted, bleeding, breathing hard, staring at the bodies around them once overwhelming enemies now reduced to motionless shadows in the sand. And for a moment, nobody speaks, nobody moves, because they all know the truth. Without her, they would be dead. Miller steps forward, voice cracking with equal parts respect and disbelief as he radios her. "Valkyrie, battlefield secure. Thanks to you." And she finally speaks, calm like someone who just finished a routine task instead of a massacre. "Stay alert." This wasn't the main wave. The Rangers freeze, confusion and fear mixing. But before they can ask, radar alarms from their comms ignite, picking up another massive incoming force. Vehicles, foot soldiers, drones, everything mobilizing fast because the enemy isn't just angry. They're terrified, and when powerful men fear one person, they send everything to erase her. Miller grits his teeth and says what everyone is thinking. "We can't survive another wave. We barely survived this one." And for the first time since she arrived, she stands still, not aiming, not running, just looking at the incoming blips on the scanner. Then she lifts her sniper, slings it behind her again, and cracks her knuckles like someone preparing for a second round of destruction, and simply says, "Good." Now it gets interesting. The Rangers stare because she isn't just unafraid. She's enjoying this, not recklessly, not psychotically, but like someone trained for wars that should never exist, someone whose presence on any battlefield means the enemy made a fatal mistake. The incoming forces get closer, engines growling, drones hovering, rockets armed, and Miller shouts commands for defensive line formations, ordering everyone to regroup and prepare. But she doesn't wait. She walks straight toward the next battlefield alone, wiping dust from her scope, breathing steady, pulse unchanged. And the Rangers watch her go, small, dark figure walking into fire. Yet somehow she looks bigger than war itself. One Ranger whispers softly, almost reverently, "She's not a soldier, she's the storm." And Miller doesn't argue because he knows it's true. She reaches the ridge, kneels, plants a rifle again, and the moment the enemy crests the horizon. Vehicles lined up, fighters roaring in confidence until they see her. She fires the first shot of the Second War, and hell explodes again as she turns the battlefield into a graveyard with nothing but precision, fury, and unbreakable dominance. And the Rangers charge behind her with new courage, new fire, because now they aren't fighting to survive. They're fighting with a living legend leading them. And together, they end the second wave faster than the first, bodies dropping, engines exploding, commands failing, until nothing remains moving but Rangers and smoke. The wind carries the silence afterward, heavy and final, and Miller approaches her slowly. Not because he fears her weapon, but because he respects the weight she carries. And she finally stands, dust covering her armor, rifle still warm from killing dozens, maybe hundreds. And he asks the question nobody else dares. Why us? Why this mission? She wipes her rifle calmly and answers with a voice that sounds like scars in history. "Because someone tried to erase you, and I don't let good soldiers die forgotten." And then she walks past him, toward her bike, ready to disappear like a ghost that only appears when death needs correction. But Miller calls after her. "Wait, who do we tell command saved us?" She stops for one heartbeat, looks over her shoulder, eyes cold and blazing with purpose, and answers. Tell them a miracle finally answered when they whispered for one. Then she starts her engine, dust swirling around her like wings, and before the Rangers can say another word, she speeds off into the horizon, just as silently as she arrived, leaving behind only bodies, echoes, and a new legend whispered in every military corner of the world. Valkyrie walked into hell and made hell kneel. And if you're watching this story right now, don't forget to subscribe to her brave stories. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from?